Hi, everyone. Welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Stephen.
I'm Anthony.
Today's date is April 21st. We're looking at day 2 under pages 40 to 43 under technology. And the title, once again, is AI Granny Comes to the Rescue.
没错，我们今天要继续介绍科技新知里面我们昨天介绍过的 AI 阿嬷赶紧前来救援。昨天呢，我们的阿嬷还没有出现。
Yeah.
我们先简单的讲一下说现在诈骗横行啊，因为有深伪技术的关系，所以他们这些诈骗集团 fraud rings， 他们会怎么样去诈骗我们？可能会装成像是 government officials， 或者是装成你家的这个可能亲戚朋友等等啊，跑过来跟你说要把钱转到什么地方。所以呢，我们昨天简单的讲一下，有些诈骗的一些问题，还有这些科技的技术被用在坏的事情上面。而今天呢，我们要介绍一下，水能载舟，亦能覆舟嘛，对不对？一个工具可以被拿来用来做坏的事情，也可以拿来做好的事情。那今天这个 AI 阿嬷就是可以来帮助我们的。
So once again, the subtitle, AI not only fuels scams, but also fights them. All right, let's find out how she does that.
AI Granny comes to the rescue. Although criminals use AI for illegal purposes, the same technology can also be used to fight back. A British telecom company introduced a chatbot named Daisy, which is designed to sound like a friendly, talkative old lady. Daisy's job is scam baiting, or turning the tables on scammers as they attempt to trick victims. Also called AI Granny, Daisy draws scammers into long, time-wasting conversations. The strategy keeps them on the phone and makes them annoyed as they try to get information from the harmless old lady. Because Daisy is an AI chatbot, she never gets tired or needs a break. As long as she occupies scammers' time, they can't target real victims. In some interactions with Daisy, criminals have even unknowingly given away useful information to law enforcement. Since older people are more likely to fall for online scams, a chatbot like Daisy is a useful tool to prevent these crimes. The company has set up several phone numbers for Daisy, which are intended to attract scammers. In the future, such AI chatbots may become even more effective at detecting and preventing telecom fraud.
Although criminals use AI for illegal purposes, the same technology can also be used to fight back.
Yeah, 我们来看第一段的第一句话，他告诉你说 ，Although criminals use AI for illegal purposes， 好，我们这个 purposes 就是目的的意思。尽管呢，这些罪犯呢开始用 AI 进行一些非法的一些行为，达到一些非法的目的 ，the same technology。同样的这个技术呢 ，can also be used to fight back。我们有办法用这项技术来反制他们哦。
So to fight back, another word I want to teach everyone is retaliate.
Retaliate
就是反驳。retaliate. You could say that we can use the same technology to retaliate. Another word that I often see is to combat.
Combat.
Combat doesn't mean to fight back. It just means to fight. So sometimes you can use this word combat to combat these illegal activities. Okay?
没错，所以 retaliate 这个字老师讲得非常好。他们常常会讲的说是反驳啦，或者是这种报复对方。你敢对我不好，我就加倍奉还。这种感觉叫做 retaliate。
A British telecom company introduced a chatbot named Daisy, which is designed to sound like a friendly, talkative old lady.
哇、wow, ，OK， 他就说了 ，A British telecom company 有一家英国的电信公司，后来我去查一下，它这家电信公司叫 O2，OK， O2 introduced a chatbot， chatbot 的话本身就是聊天机器人哦 ，named Daisy 叫做黛西 Daisy 的聊天机器人呢 ，which is designed to sound like a friendly talkative old lady， 听起来很像是哇，很友善啊，很健谈，很喜欢跟你聊天的一个老太太。哇哦，太酷了。
Daisy just sounds like an innocent name, right?
没错，听起来就很无害啊，很 harmless.
So the word telecom here, we do say telecom company, but it's also short for the word telecommunication. Okay, so often we just say telecom company instead of telecommunication, just to make it a little easier for everyone. A chatbot is the same as a chat robot, and we're just taking out that RO and just making it chatbot. Okay, and Daisy actually is a name that is common, but it also is a flower too, right? So that's just how sometimes people have names that might not always have a meaning, but Daisy is also a type of flower. And here we see friendly, talkative old lady. So we got two adjectives next to each other, which is why we're going to separate them with a comma. Okay, so who is someone that's friendly? It's someone who is really nice, very approachable. And then who is someone who's talkative? That means someone who just likes to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of a verb that likes to yap.
Yap.
Y-A-P. When we say someone likes to yap, it means that they always like to talk.
Like a chatterbox.
Yeah, kind of like a puppet. Like yap, like that. Yeah.
Oh,
so that's someone who likes to yap or likes to talk is a talkative person. All right?
没错。
Daisy's job is scam baiting, or turning the tables on scammers as they attempt to trick victims.
好，我们来看这边这句话，他说 Daisy's job， 然后老师刚刚提到说 Daisy 也是一种花的名字，它是雏菊。好 ，OK， 这个 Daisy's job is scam baiting。那他这边用一个引号是告诉你说，哎，不见得是每个人都知道 scam baiting， 它也许是一个创造出来 is a coined phrase.
And it's also a very new phrase. It's not just something that non-English speakers might not know. A lot of people who aren't from the like this current generation that is using technology, they might not be aware of this word.
没错，所以他就特别在后面说 or， 这个 or 后面接的就是去解释 scam baiting 的意思。Turning the tables on scammers as they attempt to trick victims。这边提到 turning the tables， 有点像是这种逆转情势。好，变成是说今天猎物变成了猎人，哎，情势就倒转过来了。我们可以把它翻译成说像是逆转局势的啦，或是突然可以反将对方一军啊，或反杀，有没有？如果你打游戏的话，他被我反杀了，这种感觉。Turning the tables on scammers 就是能够反将这个 scammers 诈骗犯一军的。As they attempt to trick victims， 当这些诈骗犯想要去骗这些受害者的时候，我们可以反将一军。
Yeah, so attempt here is another word for try. They try to trick victims. In yesterday's lesson, we had trick victims into doing something or trick victims out of their money. But you don't always need to have like a preposition afterwards if you're just trying to say 他们去欺骗人。Okay， 昨天是欺骗人去做某一件事情，才会有后面那些 prepositions， 就让大家知道这一点。And then turning the tables on someone, like I think a lot of our students sometimes when we're teaching them, they're like 需要学这个吗？这个常用吗？I use this all the time.
Oh, wow.
And then if I do something to kind of like switch the way that the relationship is, I'll be like, oh my, have the tables turned.
没错，现在情势反过来了，对，这样的感觉。我觉得其实如果学一些这种很道地的一些用法的话，在重要的关头，你像用出来的时候，感觉超棒。
Yeah， 其实那个力道还蛮强的。I want to talk about scam baiting, okay? Scam we learned in yesterday's lesson, it means to 欺骗, right? Or to 诈骗。Bait, B-A-I-T. Okay, if it's being used as a noun, when you go fishing and you put like a worm on top of the hook, in Chinese is right? And then you throw it in and you try to catch fish, you're trying to like put the worm there to look very innocent so that the fish will come over and bite the bait. Okay, so that's basically what you're doing here. You're trying to kind of trick these scammers to come out and then catch them like they're fish. Okay, so that's why it's scam baiting.
没错，所以 bait 这个字本来就是钓鱼用的是那种饵，对不对？所以如果说今天你用这个饵去钓这些 scammers， 那就有点像是 scam baiting， 就是我试着看，我假装成猎物，很可怜的要被骗的那些人，然后突然之间，你钓上这些 scammers 之后，你开始就开始收网了，开始哇把这个鱼钓起来。
Yeah, I want to learn more about this. Let's take a short break. Also called AI Granny, Daisy draws scammers into long, time-wasting conversations.
好，我们来看第二段的第一句话，他告诉你说，这个 AI Granny， 他说也叫做 also called AI Granny， 黛西呢也被称为 AI 阿嬷。Daisy draws scammers into long, time-wasting conversations. 如果你今天提到 draw 什么什么，就是 draw 这个字本身当动词使用的时候，就是指吸引的意思 ，attract 的意思。所以 draw scammers 就是吸引这些诈骗犯 into 把它拉进 long time wasting conversation， 拉进这种很冗长，然后很无意义、很浪费时间的对话，他都没有时间去骗别人了，好，就是在听你讲就好了。
对。So here, I also think it's so important to talk about prepositions because we have draw someone into something, 就把它吸引进来什么东西。But if you didn't have the into, you just said Daisy draws scammers, it would make people think that you're saying she's drawing them. 她在画他们。So because some verbs have more than one meaning in this situation, it'd be good to have that preposition to know that you're drawing them or attracting them, pulling them into these long time-wasting conversations. Once again, we have two adjectives next to each other, which is why we're separating it with a comma. It's just that the second adjective is a compound adjective, taking two words to put them together to make them into a descriptive word. Okay, it's a conversation that wastes their time, right?
That's right. 没错。
Okay, and I like how this sentence started out, also called AI Granny. So we're letting the reader or the listener know that Daisy has another name, which is AI Granny, which is also the title of what our article today. So the author has chosen to use Daisy as the way to describe this technology. So then we're going to use Daisy as the main way to describe her, and that's why we have also called AI Granny, just to let everyone know the connection to the name of the article. And then the word granny itself, it's actually just a short way to say grandma or grandmother. It's just another way to say it. But sometimes, even if it's not our own grandmother, if it's an older lady, some people might say, hey, granny. Yeah, but it's kind of like when it's not your own grandma, if you call someone a granny, it could be very offensive because maybe they're not that old.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And usually when you hear it, it's kind of like,老阿嬷, like, you know, it's kind of like it's not too nice to say that too.
没错。
I think most people don't like being called granny. Okay, unless you do it in a sweet way.
That's right.
All right. The strategy keeps them on the phone and makes them annoyed as they try to get information from the harmless old lady.
好，我们来看这句话里面提到的 them 都是指 scammers。它里面提到说 the strategy， 好，这个 strategy 的意思就是这样的策略，这样的做法呢 ，keep them on the phone， 让那些诈骗犯呢能够一直在讲电话，一直跟这个老奶奶讲电话 ，and makes them annoyed， 然后觉得很烦躁，你到底要不要把那个密码输进去 ？OK，as they try to get information from the harmless old lady， 我们刚刚提到一个字 harmless 或是 innocent， 老师刚刚用到一个字 innocent， 就是 innocent，innocent 就是那种很无害的 very harmless old lady， 都叫 Daisy 了，然后他怎么会想到说这个老人家其实是用来钓我们的鱼饵呢？对不对？他不可能想到的。在这里面我们看到这个字叫做 annoyed 这个字就觉得很烦很火，就觉得说你到底要不要做这件事情 make them annoyed 就是让这些诈骗犯非常的恼火。
Yes. There are a few things I want to draw attention to. The first thing is, well, talking about older people, a lot of times people think that older people just want someone to talk to. So then I think these scammers probably have a lower defense when talking to someone who sounds like an older person, thinking, she's just lonely, she just wants to talk, but I want her money so bad. But they don't know that the tables have turned.
Yeah.
And that they're part of a scheme to be tricked into thinking it's an old lady. So here, I think the strategy keeps them on the phone. We could actually use that word you taught earlier. The scheme
没错
keeps them on the phone, right?
没错 keep them on the phone 就是可以能够让他们就是被挂在这个电话上面，没有办法去骗其他人，所以这个 strategy 也可以 也可以通到我们刚刚前面昨天所讲过的 scheme 这个字，好 scheme，scheme 这个字很好用。
It's just a scheme is like a strategy that has more of a 心机 like you're deceiving, like you're making this strategy to like trick someone, right? But we're tricking the scammer, so it's
That's
okay.
right.
Okay, so makes them annoyed. A lot of times my students will say like 让他觉得很烦, right? And then they'll say like let them annoyed. 但是这个让跟那个让有一点差别。这个 makes them annoyed is more like 使得他觉得很烦。
That's right.
But let them feel annoyed is like 你允许他觉得很烦。所以中文都是翻成让，that's why 会让很多人觉得，会使得很多人觉得 confused. It makes people confused, but that's the difference. Let 是允许的感觉，
对，
然后 make 是使得一个人觉得怎么样。Okay. All right. So you're trying to get information from the harmless old lady. 他们想取的这些资讯啊，从这个阿嬷，这个无害的阿嬷拿这些资讯。Harmless 就是 you don't have any harm, right? You have no harm. But the opposite is harmful, full of harm. 所以可以知道有这个词 harmful. Okay. Because Daisy is an AI chatbot.She never gets tired or needs a break.
Yeah, 没错，我们来看一下这句话。因为呢，because Daisy is an AI chatbot， 因为这个我们的 AI 阿嬷是聊天机器人嘛，所以怎么样 ？She never gets tired， 她不会累，or needs a break。哎，这个scammer 他们也是人呐，他们也是肉做的，他们也是会累，讲也会累，所以我们又派一个不会累的去对付这种会累的，好，这样 scamming the scammer。Yes， 我觉得这是太酷了哈，因为他不需要休息，然后也不会累，所以说我们是占有优势的。
Yeah, so 会变累是 get tired， 但如果感觉累是 feels tired， 所以让大家知道这个两个差别。As long as she occupies scammers' time, they can't target real victims.
好，所以说 as long as 就是只要呢，好 she occupies scammers' time， 只要能够占据住这些诈骗犯的时间，让他们白白的消耗在这我们的 Daisy 阿嬷身上 ，they can't target real victims， 他们就没有时间去针对这些其他受害者，把他们当作目标了。Target 这个地方当动词使用，就是把目标对准什么什么东西。在这边的话是 real victim， 是真正会被骗的这些受害者。
Yeah, so occupied someone's time is like 你占有一个人的时间。So you could also say take up the scammer's time. And scammer is 这里是s， 然后再上撇是因为它是复数的 ，OK， 复数的 scammers。In some interactions with Daisy, criminals have even unknowingly given away useful information to law enforcement.
好，我们来看一下这句话说 In some interactions with Daisy， 在这个跟 Daisy 阿嬷沟通的过程 ，interaction 指的是互动，然后在这里的话是当可数，就是在多次的互动当中呢，甚至还有机会怎么样 ？Criminals have even unknowingly 指的就是不知不觉的，好，或者说不小心一下子没有想到，好 given away useful information to law enforcement. If you give away information to somebody, 就是泄露了重要的资讯。比方说他可能讲说，拜托这边已经很晚了，然后这边几点钟，你赶快把这个资讯给我吧。然后我们算算时间说，他这个时间在这边，那他的这个犯罪地点应该在哪里？搞不好就出现了，搞不好就可以算出来了。所以 give away information to somebody 的意思就是泄露给某人，好，把这个资讯泄露给某人，谁呢？Law enforcement 就是这些执法的单位，警方就派出去出动到那个国家里头去抓人了，类似像这样的感觉。
Yes, let's take a short break. Since older people are more likely to fall for online scams, a chatbot like Daisy is a useful tool to prevent these crimes.
好，我们来看这一段的第一句话说 Since older people are more likely to fall for online scams， 这边的话 since 就是 because 的意思。好，在这里的话呢，因为 since 有很多种用法，可能是自从什么时间开始，但这里的话是 because， 因为老人家呢，年纪大的人呢，比较容易are more likely to fall for online scams， 这就是容易上当。Fall for something 就是指说还容易上当受骗，容易上网络诈骗这种当。A chatbot like Daisy， 像 Daisy 这样聊天的机器人呢 ，is a useful tool to prevent these crimes， 就可以用来防止这种犯罪发生啊。比方说以后这些诈骗集团碰到老人家， 可能就有点戒心了，说算了，这个还是跳过好了，搞不好是碰到 AI
Oh,
阿
it's
嬷
Daisy.
Yeah, it's Daisy
吓
again.
到对 So prevent something from happening is to stop something from happening. And then here we see Daisy is a useful tool. This useful 就是很有用的 like full of use. So there's the opposite, which is useless. 超没有用的
没错
useless. Okay, useless. I also want to call attention to more likely to fall for online scams. So this more is a 比较, it's a comparative, right? To what? To other age groups. Okay, but it doesn't mean that other age groups won't fall victim. It just means that older people are more likely to fall victim or fall for these online scams. So 我讲那个 to fall victim to 一样的道理，就是会陷入这一些的骗局 fall for something and also fall in love.
Oh, yeah.
So when I think of it, are we saying that love is a 骗局?
Yeah,
Maybe. Like,
Maybe.
You know, when you say you fall in love with someone or you fall for someone, 就是你爱上某一个人，你坠入爱河, right?
Yeah.
Here it's fall for scams or fall for online scams. I thought that was really funny when I was going through this article. Okay. The company has set up several phone numbers for Daisy, which are intended to attract scammers.
好，我们来看下句话。他说 ，The company， 好，就是这个电信公司呢 ，has set up 就是已经设置了，好 ，several phone numbers for Daisy， 就变成是好几支号码都是通往 Daisy 的，对不对？哈 ，which are intended， 这个字 intended 就是指的是 be intended to do something， 就是为了某个目的去做某件事情，所以 which are intended to 是为了要 attract scammers， 能够去吸引这些诈骗犯打这些 Daisy 专线。
Yes. So the company has set up several phone numbers. You could actually also use the verb established. Okay, the company has established several phone numbers for Daisy, which are intended to, 你也可以说 made for the purpose of doing something. Okay, that made for the purpose of versus intended, 你不如就学 intended.
Yeah，
对不对？字那么多，
比较短一点。
对，很多人会说啊，为什么要学那么多单字？就是因为为了可以让你的人生也好过一点。
没错，
因为每一个动词有的时候 they have different prepositions that go with it. So sometimes it takes a lot of memorizing. So intended to attract scammers. So we talked about this attract because we said draw people into doing something, right? So you could use to draw in scammers here as well, but we're using attract this time. In the future, such AI chatbots may become even more effective at detecting and preventing telecom fraud.
好，最后这句话就告诉我们了 ，in the future， 好，到了以后未来呢，such AI chatbots， 像这样的这种 AI 聊天机器人 may become even more effective， 好，越来越有效 at 好 detecting and preventing telecom fraud。这个 detecting 就是去侦查、侦测，所以变成是说，今天你已经知道说，哎，这个好像是诈骗犯哦，它可以事先预防，而不只是说，哎，碰到了问题再来解决。所以 detect 这个字还蛮好的，尤其是 detect 后面接的东西多半是 is not easily noticed， 好，就不是容易被看到、被发现的东西，我们会用 detect 这个字。比方说这个 metal detector， 好，就是那种金属探测器，可能经过这个机场的时候会出现的，所以 detect 这个字很好用。And preventing telecom fraud， 这个 telecom fraud 就是电信诈骗。
Yeah, and here in this sentence we say such AI chatbots. 它不是说那么的怎么样 ，OK？它这里是讲 the aforementioned or the type that we are previously talking about. So we've been talking about Daisy for so long, right? So 就是说这种我们刚刚已经提到的这一些 AI chatbots， 我们会用 such 来代替这一些这个字。Okay? So the last thing I want to say is do be careful who you trust, especially when it's online. I have had a friend that someone took his face and then they put it, they use deep fake technology. And then as the scammer contacted my friend's cousin to ask for money.
Oh, no.
And she felt like something was wrong, even though it sounded like him, it looked like him, the way he talked and the things that he said didn't really feel like my friend. And that was the only way she was able to detect that it was not her real cousin that she was talking to over webcam. And it was a scammer using deep fake technology. So yes, they can get a lot of information based off of who you are, who you know, who your family members are, and then they can use that against you. 就是拿这个东西来对付你. So just be really careful who you trust, even if they look like someone that you already know.
没错，所以要特别小心。老师就提到 他的一个朋友，他的脸被拿去，然后骗他的什么表兄弟姐妹这样子。还好是因为他说的方式，他说话的那种内容啊，各方面真的不像，所以对方还会有点戒心。所以在网络上特别小心，跟你接触的人事物，即便看起来很像，声音很像，不要马上相信。
Yeah, we need to call Daisy.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So hopefully you guys learned a lot. We'll see you next time.
拜拜。